Everybody keep messaging me. He's gonna send me another Rocky on Paula. Alright, so let's try to squeeze this in, man. Did I not click IntelliJ? Okay. IntelliJ is going to load. Start your REPL and type in the following expression. If true, yes, no. It's going to always return yes. The special form if evaluates its first argument. If its value is truthful, it will evaluate argument 2. Otherwise, what? If it's truthful, it will evaluate argument 2. I thought this was argument 2. I thought true is like a function. Or is if is the function, and then this argument is the bit, and then this is argument 2, so it's going to evaluate yes. Is that what it means? Otherwise, it will evaluate argument 3. It will never evaluate both arguments 2 and 3. Okay. Press shift twice to search for files, actions, symbols, UI elements, get branches, and comments across your project. Pressing double shift again will extend the search to non-project items. Use tabs or direct shortcuts. Control N for classes, Control Shift N for files. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, I'm getting overwhelmed. How do I start the REPL? REPL. Okay, Shift Alt L should Shift Alt L should load. Do I go to the bottom? Shift Alt L should load. How do you load the file? I thought it was Alt Shift L. Yeah. What? Syntax error. Compiling at 14.3. I don't know what this is. I have no clue what that is. Okay. Okay. So if true, yes, no. If you gotta put the whole thing in parentheses. If true, yes, no. And then it shows up in there. Okay. The special form if evaluates its first argument. If its value is truthful, all right, did that. We can nest expressions and start doing more interesting things. If false, plus 3, 4. Let me just try that first. If false, plus 3, 4. I hate the fact that if false plus 3, 4, else you have a random number like that. Okay. Okay. In this case, the computation plus 3, 4 will not be executed, and the only random number between 0 and 1 will be returned by the rand function. Well, what if we wanted to do more than one thing in our branch of the condition? We could wrap our operation with do. Let's see how this works. Let's see how do works. Doc do. Revives if in order and returns the value of the last if no expressions are supplied. Okay. To use the special form do, type the following expression. Do 3, 4. So do 3 times 4, 8 divided by 4, and 1 plus 1. Okay. Do 3, 4. And then I thought it was 8. I thought it was 8 divided by 4. And then the other one was a 2. Okay. All the expressions before the final expression were evaluated, but only the value of the last one is returned. This does not look you need to return my stuff. That's still not it. All the expressions before the final were evaluated, but only the value of the last one is returned. This does not look very useful with expressions that don't alter the state of the world. And so it would typically be used for side effects such as logging or any other kind of IO. Okay. You don't have to take my word for it. So let's experiment with the side effect of printing to the terminal. Do print line, a proof that is executed and then print line, and this too. Okay. Do print line. I'm just going to say ABC. And then print line D, E, F, G. What's wrong with that? Oh, you got to rep it. No, I did that. This print line is a function. It's a function with side effects, but it's a function. So you have this right here. That should resolve. I don't know what this is about. Typo in Word. I don't know what that's about. ABC D E F G. Alt Shift Enter. It wants to put an O in there. I don't know what that's about. Okay. Finally, we can combine the use of if and do to compute multiple operations in the conditional branching. If true, do print line calculating a random number, random, and then you do plus 1, 2, 3. So if true, you do. It's going to do the first expression. It's not going to bother doing the last one. All right. So if true, do print line calculating random number, and then print line is an expression. So we put that there. And then we say random like that. And then we'll do a plus 1, 2. Something like that, right? Okay. Technically, you could also omit the third argument, bringing back the previous expression in REPL and remove the last expression. That is 1, 2. All right, I don't know what that means. If true, do calculate random number and then random. If false, print line not going to happen. Within parentheses, if false, you say print line not going to happen. Okay. We have a better construct available for this case, the when operator. Instead of combining if and do when you are only interested in doing work when one branch of the conditional execution. I'll be right back. Walk down my block. I don't like when random people walk down my block. Hey, observer. All right. So I don't like when random people walk down my block. All right. So where am I at now? We have a better construct. They say use when. We have a better construct available for this, the when operator. Instead of combining if and do, when you only are interested in doing work in one branch of the conditional execution, use when. Okay. Type the following expression to use when instead of a combination of if and do. When true, print line, first argument, print line, second argument, and the last is returned. Okay, let's try that. When true, print line, I just want to say 1. Print line 2. Print line 1, 3, 2. Hold on, that didn't print it in the order I expected. It went 1, 3, 2. Hold on, no, that's not right. First, second, and last one. What did I do wrong? When true, print line, and the last is returned. We have this. Hold on. They didn't do a print line. Hold on. They said in the last is return. So they just did this right here. Hold on. What just happened? Hold on. They just did that right there. Hold on. Oh, hold up. This right here. Rid of Negro. Hold up. Just like that right there. And if I wanted to, I could say print line 3. Okay, that looks better. Oh, we have a better construct available. By completing this exercise, we have demonstrated the knowledge that the special forms known as if, do, and when. We can now write expressions that contain multiple statements as well as conditional expressions. Um, did we? Okay, so when you want to do multiple statements based on a condition, you have to use do. And it's going to return the last one. Okay. In Clojure, we use the term bindings rather than variables in assignments because we tend to bind a value to a symbol only once. Under the hood, Clojure creates variables, and so you may encounter this term, but it would be preferable if you don't think of them as classic variables or values that can change. We won't use the term variable anymore in this chapter as it can be confusing. You can use def to define global bindings and let for local bindings. In this exercise, we will demonstrate the usage of def and let keywords, which are used to create bindings. Let's get started. The special form def allows you to bind a value to a symbol. In the REPL, type the following expression to bind the value 10 to the X symbol. Def X 10. Okay. Note, when the REPL returns this pound apostrophe user /x, it's returning a reference to the var you have just recreated. The user part indicates the namespace where the var is defined. The pound apostrophe prefix is a way of quoting the var so that we see the symbol and not the value of the symbol. So so that we see the symbol and not the value of the symbol, is apostrophe and then or is a pound and then apostrophe sign. Okay. Evaluate the expression x, which will resolve the x symbol to its value. Okay. Shift Alt P. It's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. What am I supposed to do? Do I type it in here? Oh. Yeah, if I put it in there, it evaluates it. How do I evaluate it from here? Do I just have to say print line? Or hold up. I thought I can do that. Shift Alt P. No. Let me do this. No. How do you evaluate just the? No. How do they do this? Was it supposed to be no, that's not what I wanted. Okay. So apparently you got to go inside here, whatever this box is called, to get the value. Or you could just say print line. And you can say X and do this right here. So you said, are the things you type in the left area stateless? You say the left area. You mean my editor within the file, this hello world.core file? I'm learning Clojure, so like right now, yeah, everything's a function. So yes, it's all stateless. I mean, I think it's all stateless. I'm literally just going through this book, trying to learn this stuff. Hold up. No, apparently not. Okay. I mean, what's the definition of stateless? Like, I just assign 10 to a, a value called X, or I just bound 10 to X. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. Like, what else? Technically, you can change the binding, which is fine when experimenting in REPL. So they have def x20, and then yeah. So it's, however, not recommended in your programs because it can make it hard to read and count. Okay. You can use the X symbol within another expression. So increment X. Okay. So let's try that. Let's say def X. Uh-oh. Come here. Def X 20. And then we'll do a Shift Alt P. And then we'll say, don't we have to put within parentheses, increment X, that? Not a INCX. Yeah. So that right there. Okay. So you said, I meant that X didn't live longer than the assignment line, but you clearly demonstrated that is not the case. So this is a session up here. This is a REPL session. And so I guess to answer your question, the REPL session is not stateless. It maintains memory of the statements that you execute or the expressions that you execute within your editor over here. You can like stop the session or restart a session and it'll lose the memory again. So yeah. So then you say, are you branching out from F sharp? Uh yeah. Like F sharp is my favorite language. I'm just I'm just trying to like level up. And so if there's more opportunities for me within the Java ecosystem for me to do like functional programming, then I think it's worth me learning Clojure. I mean, it's very alien to me, like not just the language, but the entire ecosystem, like the IDEs, all the tools, like all that stuff is alien to me. Like none of it reminds me of .NET at all. And so it's kind of like the whole neuroplasticity crap that people say is healthy. I guess that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to exercise my mind and learn a new paradigm so I can now have three ways of approaching a problem programmatically: object oriented, .NET functional, and then your Clojure functional, or should I say your Lisp functional. So that's the motivation. Then you said, are you looking to learn Clojure for something specific or are you just curious? Yeah, so I think I answered that one. I'm just curious. Clojure appears to be kind of the Clojure camp appears to be like a cult. And I just find that very interesting. Like, I don't look at F sharp developers as like a cult. I look at them as somewhat of some elite .NET developers that have the audacity to say that object-oriented programming has its limitations. I look at the Clojure camp as just a very unique set of people or a community where like they all appear to be just enamored with Clojure. And Clojure appears to be so carefully designed where like they went above and beyond to make the language minimal. It sounds like a paradox, but like I feel like the way that they designed the language, even though it sits on top of the, I guess the Java runtime, whatever you want to call that thing, um, like the way they designed it, where data is code, supposedly, it's just an interesting concept that I would like to wrap my mind around, and also develop new relationships, right? So I remember I used to make trips to Mexico, and it didn't dawn on me until I started frequenting Mexico City that there's like a completely new genre of relationships that I can develop, friendships that I could create if I just interact with people that are aliens, right? They don't look like me, they don't talk like me, they don't speak English at all. And so I learned that like more than 10 years ago. You go to some foreign country of a whole bunch of aliens that have nothing in common with you. You can build brand new relationships um, that are completely just alien to the type of relationships that I have here in Cleveland or in Miami. And so that was kind of like an awe moment or a light bulb. And I feel like I want to take that experience that I learned from frequenting like Mexico, and I want to apply it to a programming language. I want to develop relationships or friendships with people that are not .NET developers. That yeah, they're programmers, but it's completely alien the way that they build stuff, the way that they solve problems. I want to tap into that. So that's what I'm on. So then, what else? Want to be okay? So some other person just spammed my thing. All right, where am I at now? So what did we do? We learned how to bind a value. We learned how to bind a value to a symbol. Wherever def is invoked, it will bind the value to the symbol in the current namespace. We could try to define a local binding in a do block and see what happens. So then they say do def x42. And they say the bindings that are created by def have an infinite scope or dynamic scope and can be considered as global. All right. They said def. What did I do before? I thought I used def before. Yeah, I did use def before. Okay. So the bindings that are created by def have an infinite scope or dynamic scope and can be considered as global. They are automatically namespaced, which is useful trait to avoid clashing with existing names. So wherever def is invoked, it will bind the value to the symbol in the current namespace. So it's scoped to the namespace itself, kind of globally within the namespace when you use def. So I assume when you use let, it's scoped to like a function or something, or some Clojure or code block. If we want to have a binding available only to local scope or lexical scope, we can use the special form let the type, or it says type the following expression to create a lexical binding of the symbol. Let y3, and then they have another expression, print y. Then they have another expression, 10 times y. They have all this within like one expression. Okay. So let, and how do they do this? Within brackets, y3. Okay. And then they have, I don't want to do it on the same line. So then they say print line y. And then what else do they have? This is supposed to be, every expression needs to have parentheses, needs to be wrapped in parentheses. So this is getting messy. Print line y. And then what do they have? They have like multiplication y and 10, I think they had 10 and y. But they had something like this. And so shift alt P, Okay. All right. So whenever you're doing, so you could say def, and it's going to be namespaced, and it's going to bind a value to a symbol. Okay. And whenever you do a let, then you have to provide within a, what do you call the brackets? That's not called a list, is it? Because I thought within parentheses it's a list. Do they call it a vector? They probably call it a vector. So whenever you say let, within a vector, you put in the first argument, which is a symbol, and the second argument is a value. All right, so whenever you do a let within a vector, you have your symbol and then you have your argument. All right, so I can remember that. Yeah, here we go right here. I was right. So let takes a vector as a parameter. All right, so let is a function that takes a vector as a parameter, and then within that vector parameter, you provide the symbol and the value. Okay, I can remember that. Uh, a vector is similar to a list in the sense that they both are a sequential collection of values. Their underlying data structure is different, and we will shed light on this in chapter 2. Data types and immutability. For now, you just need to know that vectors can be created with square brackets. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. Evaluate the symbol y. Okay. If I type in the REPL here and I say y, hit enter. Okay, that's not what I was looking for. Okay, so I get a symbol error. Unable to resolve symbol y in this context because we are now outside the let block. Okay, type the following expression to create a lexical binding of x to the value 3. See how it affects the indefinite global binding of x that we've created in step 4. So they say let x3 print line x. I don't get it. Type the following expression to create a lexical binding of x to the value 3. And see how it affects the indefinite global binding of x that we created in step 4. All right, I don't know what they mean. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to do what they told me to do. So we'll say let x3. I did it wrong already. Let vector x3 print line x print line x, which needs to be its own thing. Okay. Why is this so effed up? Hold up. I hate the way they have this set up. Hold up. That, and then, all right, so Shift Alt P has 3. Okay. And then what? I'm just supposed to hit X again? Okay. So printing X yields the value 3, which means that the global X symbol was temporarily overwritten by or shadowed by the lexical context in the print line. I think I understand that. And it says you can create multiple local bindings at once with let by passing in an even number of items in the vector. Type the following: x to 10, y to 20. Okay. Over here, let uh, x, so let in the vector x 10, y 20, shift yp. Okay. So then within here, I'll say x is within there, within the namespace is 20. It's not even going to know. I don't think it's going to know what y is. Yeah. So then I guess I would have to say print line. Hold up. Got to remember, it has to go within parentheses. Print line x, and then print line y. 1020. Okay. So you said that. So opening parentheses basically creates scopes which let binding live in. Yes, that appears to be the case. It's kind of like in C sharp, it feels like the alternative to using braces. That editor integration trying to be helpful would make me flip a table. This is very alien to me. But like I said, like there's a cult following of Clojure people. Oh, what did I just do? So, what what's your background? Are you a .NET developer? All right. So you can create multiple local bindings. So I did that. So I need to start, instead of saying like let x blah blah blah, I need to start saying let vector that has x equal 10, y equals 20. So that's the way my brain needs to talk. Let vector, within the vector x will be 10, right? So like I should be able to say something like let, hold up, let, and then vector, and then we'll say 1 is 1, 2 2 is 2, 3 is 3. And then I would say like print line 1. Don't forget the parentheses. So this is where I keep getting myself in trouble. Print line 1, 2, 3, shift YP. Okay. All right. So whenever I want to, in general, I'll always say let vector and then say symbol and value. And that's kind of treated like tuples, right? Like this is like a tuple, tuple. Okay. Been C programming for like 25 years, but been moving to Rust the past few years. I've been trying to find the functional like aspects in Rust. Yeah. So I don't know. Are you on Twitch? Yeah, you're on Twitch. So for Rust, there is a person that I recommend that you follow. You probably already follow him. He's pretty popular. And his name is Togglebit. He has a interesting accent. Yeah, so this is the Rust programmer.
Now, we don't have to rethink the whole thing. The only reason for this is that if we get a convenience thing, if we can do it this way, right? The convenience thing would be that we can convert something that is we can convert something that is a supervisor into an actor, right? But we can work around that, right? That is not the issue, though, right? By the way, are cloning it, right? Have the code here and a cat if you want to.
Yeah, so I mean, this is all he does. Rust and Vim.
And we can't do anything about this. We can't just put it in its own block and move there. That's not a thing.
So I met
We're just
him
making things up now.
probably a year ago when it was like I was one of 3 people that were like just watching him every morning. And now he has like almost 8,000 followers. And this is under a year, right? So he has like a very interesting personality, very bubbly personality. And yeah, his whole thing is Rust using I guess a Vim editor. But yeah, he's a very sharp guy. I don't understand Rust. I used to be a C++ programmer when I started out in my career, and I have no clue why. I have no clue how I wrote C++ because I don't remember any of it. That stuff is so complicated to me. But yeah, I recommend you follow Togglebit. That's who he is. Yeah. So you say I've been trying. Yeah, Togglebit was the guy who recommended. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. He told his followers a while back to check your channel out if they are interested in F sharp. Cool. Um, I don't think you should be interested in F sharp. How do you get into functional languages? I got into functional languages because I work as a contractor. And so, short story is I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and I moved to the state of Florida to just start over. Like I just wanted to start my whole life over. Like I just wanted to do a reboot, and it was a very wise decision. Like my quality of life is stupendous compared to where I come from. Um, but when I moved to the state of Florida, like I moved from like Cleveland to Miami. That's when I got introduced to like contract work, and so Miami's a weird city. Like it's an international city, but like it doesn't have hardcore tech, nor does it have really, really smart hardcore tech people. And so that was a challenge because they just don't have the industry down here. And at the time, I specialized in Windows Presentation Foundation. That was my strategic plan to make hella money, right? So I had moved down here. I was studying for my Windows Presentation Foundation certification, and my plan was to be billing at like $90 an hour doing WPF work. I that was my vision. That is what I knew was the hourly rate. That was what I was going to get. That's how I was going to establish my lifestyle down here. And it went okay. It went okay for like the first maybe 3 years. And then WPF became less and less what's the word I'm looking for? Less and less. What is the word? I always use this word when I'm referring to people that work in like Scrum coaches and stuff. Relevant is the word. Um, WPF became less and less relevant, and so I'm answering your question. There's just like a story that leads up to it, and so uh, I went from WPF to Xamarin Forms because what they have in common is the dialect of XAML, right? Well, not the dialect. They have XAML in common, but there's different dialects of XAML between WPF, Silverlight, Xamarin Forms. So I started going into the mobile space using the skill set that I acquired from building like XAML based desktop applications. And when I started running out of work between Miami and Tampa, I then started to have to travel to like out of state just to make money. And so I ended up working in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and like I was like 45 minutes outside of Pittsburgh, and I was miserable there. Like I looked forward to my day job just because I could keep my mind occupied. Here's the thing with me, like I tend to dwell on my thoughts a lot if I'm just sitting idle, and usually it's negative thoughts, like bad energy. And so when I was in Pittsburgh, like I just had all this time on my hands, and like living in Miami, like my lifestyle is like I have like a rock star lifestyle in Miami compared to most people that live anywhere else. And so when I relocated to do a project, not really relocate, but because I mean I still kept my crib here. It's just I would take a flight to Pittsburgh and I would just rent out like a motel like a month at a time. And like after work, I would have nothing to do. I would just sit inside this motel and it was nothing there. And I think that was like the start of the opioid crisis. So like you had a lot of like I don't know. I mean, again, I'm from Cleveland, so you had a lot of like white drug addicts, in which I had no clue what they were hooked on, and it was just not a positive environment for me to just be sitting in my motel the whole time with weird people walking outside of my motel. And so I was like, yo, I gotta keep my mind occupied. Like this isn't healthy. Like I have to do something instead of like getting off work and not doing anything. And I mean, like, there's nothing out here. It's not like Miami where I could go outside and there's just hoes outside. Like, I could just start talking to. It's nothing. Like nothing. You go outside, it's drug addicts, and they don't even look like me. Like, it's a completely different culture. And so that's when I just made the decision to just learn a new programming language. But the thought process was if I'm going to learn a new programming language, it has to be a completely different paradigm. It has to be something alien, right? It doesn't make sense for me to relearn Java. It doesn't even make sense for me to learn like Ruby or JavaScript. I have to pick something that's like hella alien, that like will bend my mind. And hopefully, even though it may not be like a natural transition to having hella opportunities in regards to like employers that are paying for that skill set, at least it'll be interesting for me. And so I just chose F sharp and I bought hella, just like anything, any language or framework I want to learn. Like when I go in, I go balls deep. Like I buy like half a dozen books. I start looking for conferences inside the country and outside the country. I start buying flights and hotels to go to London, and that's what I did. I went all in on F sharp outside of work, and 6 years later, this is where I'm at. Like I'm a lot I'm way more advanced than I was 6 years ago. And obviously, people will say, "Well, yeah, if you do anything for a while, you'll be more advanced. But no, like I honestly think that if I continue just doing C sharp, I don't think I would be hella advanced. Like I don't think I would be light years ahead of myself today than I was 5 years ago. Like I mean, I'm a better C sharp developer. I'm almost better than almost everybody I work with. I know that sounds very arrogant, but I really believe that just because I look at their code and the way they do things, and I just feel like I'm a lot faster and it's a lot more elegant. But the only reason I think is because of that alien language that I decided to like just go full throttle in. So like that's a short story. I know that's probably too much that you TMI that you asked for, but it's I wanted to keep my mind occupied so that I wouldn't fall into a depression or end up doing anything stupid because of having downtime when I'm not working my 9 to 5. And so F sharp was my outlet. So that's the answer. And let me see how many messages I've missed. How do you did it? Yeah, I've seen your code before. I know you're skilled. Now that's a pretty damn good motivator reason to get into learning a new language. Not to go insane from boredom. Yeah, that's a really answer. It is like my mind has a life of its own. Like, I mean, I haven't like really been diagnosed with anything like crazy in regards to like mental illness or anything like that. But I feel like I don't want to let myself get to that point. And so, like, working out, like, I run like 2 miles a day now. I do that like every morning. So, between working out and just building my startup, which is a beach delivery app, and learning Clojure. I mean, it pacifies my mind. Else, I'm just going to I'm just going to go places that I probably really shouldn't go. And so, and I don't really have friends down here. And I mean, I could make friends, but I get kind of paranoid. I just don't trust people. So I just keep to myself a lot. And that's it. So, sorry if I'm treating you like you're a therapist or something, but I'm kind of being like kind of transparent about why I chose F sharp and why I kind of do what I do. Like on a Saturday afternoon, I'm live streaming me learning Clojure. Like, who does that? I do. So let me get off toggle bit. Oh, all right. So I wrapped up this section. Hold up. You can create multiple local bindings at once. All right, we did that. So remember, within when we want to do local bindings, we have to say let vector within the vector make our declarations of symbols and values, and we can do as many symbol value pairs as we want. All right, that's entered. Got it. Combine the concepts of this section and write the following expressions. So they have def message. Let's add them all. All right, so this would be scoped to the namespace. Okay. And then they have let, and then within the vector, x, and then the expression 10 times 3, and then y, 20. Okay. Okay. Z is 100, and then they have print line message. Let's just do this just for completeness. So they have let, no. First they have def message. So def message. Let's add them all. Let's add them all. Don't I have to wrap that inside of a, yeah, I have to wrap that inside of a parenthesis, right? So something like that. And so we do shift alt P. Okay. And so then within parentheses, we say let, and then within the vector, we'll have, how do they have this? They have X, 10, 3. So X, and then over here they have multiplication 10, 3. Okay. And then they'll have Y. I guess Y was like 20. And then they have, I don't know, they have Z or something, Z30 or something like that. Y20Z, they have 100. All right. So you have this right here. And so then after that, they have print line message. Oh, hold up. No, we have to do this within parentheses, right? Okay. So print line message. And then they have, after that, they have this plus, they have within parentheses. Oh, shoot. After that, they have within parentheses, go back, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. So it looks like they're just adding everything in here. All right. So if I do Shift Alt P on here, says let's add them all 150. And over here, let's add them all 150 right there. Okay. You said that no, it's really interesting. I can identify with a lot of what you said. Speaking of which, I got to get back to getting some work done here. Take care. All right. Well, it looks like you already left, but see you, Epic Blarg. I can't say your username. You probably left already, but it was cool chatting. Creating simple functions with function and definition. The special form that's used to define functions is function. Let's jump right into it by creating our first function. Okay, so it looks like this is a milestone because now I'm into going from declarations that are namespaced to like expression based for bindings to now getting into building functions. And so I'm going to tap out right now. I may be back on probably one or two more times today, but I'm going to take a break. So see ya, whoever this observer is that's watching me. Take care. Bye.